Hi, I'm Allison Davies, the Communications Assistant with Regional Tourism Organization 7, and I'm here today with Alex Hogan, the Project and Administration Manager for RTO7. We are just going to do a catch up about the partnership programs that RTO7 has to offer and how they can help your business. Hi, Alex.
Hey, how are you, Allison?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, I was hoping we could just go over the programs, and I've written out a few questions we can refer to as we go. Obviously, we're in unprecedented times, and I was hoping you could explain which of the partnership programs you feel would be helpful for operators right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there were actually, so last year we had 8 different partnership program categories, and we had projects in all of them except for web portal last year. So, but we had signage, digital advertising, social media advertising, experience development, translation, video and image development. Did I mention that? Anyway, there are 8 of them. And we still have those would be the ones that we have again this year. But I think that some of those are more relevant than others, particularly for operators right now. Yeah. So I wanted to, I'll just talk to you a little bit about those ones in particular.
Okay.
Just sort of a caveat or things like the thing I want to explain before I do that is that this particular program, the ministry gives us money conditional on us being able to raise funds from partners. So partners actually, you need to be able to bring some cash to the table. So if as an operator, if you have $0, you're probably better to go talk to Kim about some of her programs. If you do have some money, then great, come talk to me. And in fact, Kim and I are able to, you can work through both of us. So you might want to start with her and not needing to contribute any cash, but then come and you can do additional advertising with me with the cash that you do have. So just something to keep in mind as well. So, but essentially the programs that I think that this year will be most useful, and if you do have some money, are video and image development, social media advertising using those videos and images, and then storytelling. So those are the ones that I think are probably most useful.
Great. And could you just break down what happens in each of those partnership programs? So.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the video and image development project, that's an investment from the partner of a minimum of $600, and how much you contribute will depend on which program you're doing and a bunch of other variables. But minimum $600. It can go up to $5,000, but that's very unlikely that I think you would spend that much on this program. And the way it works is we triple your investment. So if you contribute $600, we'll make it $1,800. And essentially you work with our agencies of record. So on the video side, that is Brian Hunt. And on the photo side, that's Andrea Hamlin. And a real bonus to this particular program is that we will then take the videos or images developed through that program, and we'll use those in our Bruce Grace & Co. Seasonal advertising campaign. So I believe this year that we're putting $1,000 towards any of the videos that you've created with us in maybe the last 3 years or so. So that's just a huge, and the that particular campaign, although we're running it, it drives traffic to your website, not to ours. So it's just a huge bonus to be aware of. And then in terms of the video, there are 3 different packages. So with different prices. And the main factors that determine price are the number of days shooting, the number of locations that you're shooting at, whether or not you need a professional voiceover, and then to a certain extent, the number of videos, which I can explain, but and the style of the video.
Right. And obviously you would walk through with an applicant, like help them figure out which level of video would make sense for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as an overview, there's our lowest partner buy-in is $800. It's what I like to call our cheap and cheerful option. 60-second video that is typically set to music. You can have subtitles, that sort of thing. But it's good if you don't need to convey too much information other than visual, and you're shooting in one location.
Right.
We have a package that's $14.35 is the partner buy-in, and that's our most common or our most popular one. It allows you an optional voiceover if you need or want that, and you can film at a few locations as long as they're not too spread out. The real advantage of that package and why I think it's the most chosen is that in addition to your 60-second video, you get a 130 or 215-second videos or shorter ones for social media advertising. So you can then use those shorter videos in your ads, driving traffic back to your website where your longer 60-second video you can view it. So that's that one. And then there is a $2,000 partner option buy-in, which some people do. It's a similar sort of a deliverable, but it tends to be more of a storytelling interview type video, where you're trying to capture a lot of information in a compelling manner. So, but as you say, the mid-level is suitable for a lot of projects. Some of them do really well at the lower level also, but if you're unsure, I can always put you in touch with Brian. He's really good at talking to people about their needs and helping them to determine where they fit. And we have some leeway too to be able to customize those packages. So
yeah, he's pretty awesome to work with.
Yeah,
we're lucky. Their partners are lucky to have him to help them through the process, because he definitely knows his stuff. Yeah. Okay, and I just thought maybe on the imagery side of things, was there anything you learned last year after watching partners set up their shoots and follow through the projects that is changing things for this year or informing what you would suggest they do?
Yeah, we did a lot of videos last year. So we actually did double the videos we had done the previous year.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of them were winter, which was fantastic because obviously we're trying to grow that season. So that was really encouraging. Imagery, whether or not it's videos or photos, can really make a campaign. So it can take a good campaign to great. So really important from that sort of perspective. And last year's campaigns highlighted, I guess not so surprisingly, that really strong, happy, authentic images are key. Images with multiple people tend to do very well. And so they'll be socially distanced now, of course. And people doing things. So action shots work very well. Had really good performance from them. And then always good to have some vertical images that can be used for Instagram and for Facebook stories. So I would say those were probably some of the main learnings around imagery from last year.
Okay. And then we hadn't yet talked about social media advertising. Can you give me a bit of insight into that program?
Yeah. So that's where we take the videos and the photo that we've developed together or your own, and use them in a paid social media, meaning Facebook and Instagram advertising campaign, and that you work with directly with the directly with the ABER group. The other option or way of doing that is to invest funds in extending the campaign that we're already running with your video. So you'll remember I mentioned a minute ago that we use it in our Bruce Grace campaign. So if we are doing that, we've done all the background, the planning, the targeting, and everything in the campaign, and you're just chipping in extra funds. So both of those, whichever way you want to go, those are both a minimum investment of $500.
Right. And again, that's something you would help walk them through to pick which one made sense for them.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's up to the partner, but I would say that if you've either done this kind of advertising before, or you have any interest in learning about social media advertising, then I would go with a video image advertising stream or program, because you get better leverage with us. You actually get more money. Plus, you work with the ABER group and you maintain more control of your campaign. Boosting this Bruce Grace Simcoe seasonal campaign is, I would say, for those people that like the idea of advertising, but they want it to be as simple as possible. Essentially, very low involvement, you're writing a check.
Yeah. And were there any big learnings from social media last year that you would want to share?
Well, I mentioned that really good imagery is key to social media advertising. The advantage of it is that it's pretty affordable. You can get a lot of information across in a few photos or a video, like way more than sort of other formats. In terms of last year's project, Spring Resort had a really good year. This was part of a larger campaign, but they do a lot of social media within the larger digital advertising campaign. And I think I mentioned when we did this last year, I mentioned that they were working on lead generation through Instagram stories.
Right, I remember that.
So years like last year and this year, or I guess that's last year, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They've now gotten 6,300 leads in those 2 years that they then do a follow-up email campaign with. So that's been really effective for them. And so far, you know, they're using Instagram to generate leads, but in the future, we want to try to use it to drive bookings, even though that's not really a booking platform. And it was good because we you know, have struggled a little bit with analytics and tracking bookings, and we finally nailed that this year. So we're able to directly attribute bookings now to all the ads. And actually, for them, YouTube worked well for driving bookings for last year. We actually had good performance from Facebook for midweek offerings across the board last year, which was really good because, again, like Manger, midweek is something that we're trying to drive, right? So yeah. And then also just we found that including video ads in the mix for Facebook really helped to drive strong results.
Great. I was hoping you could just tell us what you learned in the storytelling program last year that might be helpful for people thinking of participating this year.
Right. So it was interesting for some people. This is old hat, right? They've done a lot of work with writers in the past. Others, it's new for them. And so what was interesting there was talking to partners about setting expectations around the deliverables. Because they've never done it before. They don't really know some of the things that you might want to ask the writer to be reporting back on, just to ensure that you're getting what you need out of the story. So that was good learning, I think, for some. It's also important to choose your writers intentionally, I think. So we had a partner that was looking for a millennial audience, so they used a writer from that demographic. There was another partner that chose a writer from a really well-known Toronto culture publication, and that made sense for that product and audience. And then another one wanted to make fishing more approachable for newbies, and so they chose a young female angler who was able to really make it a lot more accessible. So to give thought to, you know, who you're choosing to write the story. And then it was interesting, a couple of times now, we've advertised what I would call educational type blogs or vlogs, and just super simple for a learn to type audience. So with fishing, and those have worked much better than we anticipated in terms of advertising. That's been interesting.
Great. And I know you've done some work with DMOs and municipalities as well as operators. What sort of projects have you seen them work on, or what makes sense for a DMO?
So they can do any of these ones that we've been talking about, or any of the other partnership programs as well. Digital advertising works well for, and did last year for several of the DMOs. So Aurelia and Lake Country is one that I think does a really good job with the digital advertising. And in leveraging the partnership program. So the way they do it is their operators pay to play, like they pay them to play in a campaign that OLC manages through the partnership program. And so they've done it for a few years now, but they had a really good year last year. So they had, their click-through rate was about the same as it had been the previous year, but they doubled clicks to their website with a comparable budget. So that was cool. They also had a significant, like I think 62% increase in leads to their partners' websites. And their partners were reporting that people were telling them that they had learned about them through the social media ads. They did a clever thing in that they came up with 8 adventure experiences. So some were summer, some were winter, but those generated a lot of interest. So it was things like scenic flights and horseback riding and treetop trekking, that type of thing. So it's worked really well for them in terms of strengthening their partnerships with their partners and the municipalities, accommodators, their operators and stuff. So that program has worked really well for them and for others as well. Yeah.
Good. Okay, and what kind of changes have you made to the partnership program overall since last year?
So we had come out with the partnership program in March or whenever, and then we had to revise it to reflect our RTO7's COVID recovery plan, right? Yeah. So some of the things that changed from last year, either they were changing anyway or as a result of the recovery plan, are that we were to have had a $200 admin fee on all projects, yeah, for this year. That has been waived, so we won't need to pay that this year. We also expanded signage to include a new kind of sign that's not in our system, but that does meet other criteria. So it's provincially recognized. It's probably used in a fair number of other regions, RTOs. It obviously supports our activities. It's really, solid construction, that type of thing. Those signs will be funded at $1 to 50 cents, meaning for every dollar you contribute, we'll contribute 50 cents, which is half of what we would normally fund for signage that does meet the RTO7 specs. And so it's things like maybe Bruce Trail signage, the snowmobile club, conservation areas, Great Lakes Water Trail, those front waterfront trail, those sorts of things. Now that said, we've changed some of the leverages this year to benefit operators as much as possible, which meant decreasing leverage for some of the programs that operators don't access as much. So for this particular year, all signage, even that meets our specs, is funded at $1 to 50 cents. So you contribute $1, we'll give you 50 cents. So for this year, that's the deal with signage. And experience development projects are now $1 to 75 cents. So we'll give you 75 cents on the dollar. I think that those are the main. Oh no, sorry. So what's most important is that we've then focused on advertising, which is the different advertising projects, which are where the operators will benefit most. Because we are concerned with the tourism businesses. So that means storytelling, digital advertising, social media advertising, all of those have been increased, the leverage from 1 to 2, meaning for every dollar that you contribute, we will contribute an additional $2. And we've also dropped the minimum. So the minimum partner contributions, just to make it easier for operators to meet their access.
Great. Yeah. Okay, and what kind of applications have you seen so far?
A lot of them have been around advertising. So there's lots of video coming in, which is fantastic because, great collateral is never a bad decision, especially if you have the time to work on it now. And I think I mentioned with both the videos and the storytelling, we expect to see a fair bit of adaptation stories, right? So how operators are adapting to these new realities to make guests and others feel more comfortable. So that could be, sanitizing or signage or new policies and procedures, all that sort of stuff. We're also seeing social media campaigns and larger digital advertising campaigns and storytelling too. And they are typically falling into 3 main categories. So one is, or initially, what we were seeing is what I will call the dream now, visit later sort of a campaign, right? Where we're showing the area and what you have to look forward to, but asking people to stay home for now. So that was largely DMOs and areas that were doing those. And then there's also been a fair number of shop local campaigns. So advertising takeout and delivery options to a local audience. So again, several DMOs undertook that kind of a project, and then they drove to a website that consolidated all those opportunities. What we're starting to get into now is campaigns that are outlining what various assets do have to offer and how. So very much focused on what people can do, and here's how we've adapted, or the new protocols that we're following and that we expect you to follow for the comfort and safety of locals and visitors and our staff. So really the new normal, right? Yeah. It's really, we recognize that operators really need the traffic, but that it's critical that they have the support of locals too, right? So that's always been important, but now more than ever. So what we can to ensure that locals are comfortable with how things are unfolding, and that we're taking this stuff seriously and not taking unnecessary risks and stuff. So people are coming, and we want to ensure that they're coming here on our terms and they're well prepared to be good contributors to the community and plan ahead and all those sorts of things, right?
Yeah. Okay. I think the last thing that we didn't touch on yet was the T3 program and the work that you've been doing with workforce. So maybe you could just bring us up to speed with that.
Right, yeah. So the T3 program, T3 Accelerators initiative of RTO7 and the Collingwood Center for Business and Economic Development. And it's been going on for 2 or 3 years now. And you can read about the program on the RTO7 website. Essentially, in the last year, the T3 program rolled out to a broader geography. So what it is, it's owners or operators of tourism businesses can access an assessment of their business, and then business and tourism coaching to help ensure their success. And it's actually a lifetime program. So once you're in for life.
Right.
There are now 17 businesses, I think, that have been onboarded, and they're across the spectrum. So you've got accommodation and outdoor adventure and culinary, spa, all kinds of things. So 17 that have received coaching to date. As an aside, we're seeing some common themes. So we're developing best practices that can be shared with others in the program, but also with more broadly than that, because a lot of this stuff is highly transferable, the lessons. So we have some tools that are being developed around that. But it has been very successful, and operators, I think, really appreciate the program. So we actually haven't done any formal surveying, but anecdotally, so there's an adventure tour company that was part of it, that they launched an online booking platform as a result of the coaching, as a result of the coaching, and they felt that the management of the business had improved 100%, and their sales had bumped 25%. So good results. There was an event center that had their best year ever in terms of satisfied customers, and they were up for a couple of customer service awards actually as well. A culinary tour operation that hired somebody, so they shifted the responsibility of bookings and inquiries away from the owner, which gave the owner the opportunity to sort of refocus and reestablish or strengthen connections with other partners, which meant that they could expand their joint offerings. There was a winery that had a strategic planning session, and then they used the results of that in an application to Farm Credit Canada, and that application was approved, which I think that they're very pleased about. Yeah, a bit surprised maybe. So it's if you are an established business and you could use some help or a sounding board on things like productivity, profitability, sales, marketing, leadership, customer service, or product or experience development, that's the sort of thing, like reach out and we can help to assess whether or not T3 might be a good fit for you. There's actually also a widget on our website. So on RTO7.ca, if you go to programs and T3 Accelerator, there's a widget there that will take you straight to the application form for the T3 program. Yeah. And then I guess the only other thing in workforce is that we continue to, as we always have, to offer the free online customer service training program, right? So really encourage everybody to take advantage of that. And then also this past year, we introduced It's Your Shift, which is a violence and sexual harassment training that is also free online, and a great opportunity to take advantage of that. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that kind of brings me to the last thing I was going to ask. Just if someone has watched this or they've even read over the applications and they want to get started, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the applications are all available on RTO7.ca under the partnership program heading, but strongly encourage you to just reach out and give me a call or an email. I don't know if you want me to share that information here or not, but
I'll put it just on the bottom here.
Okay. Good. Yeah, because it's probably easiest just to save you some time by having a quick discussion beforehand, just to ensure that it aligns. I mean, really, I consider my job is in, well, a little bit of filtering, but mostly in just helping you to get an application that will be successful and will be
Yeah,
approved.
for sure.
So, yeah.
For sure. Okay, that's great. I think that will definitely help people. And yeah, hopefully your phone and your email will be filling up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Alex. Okay.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Allison.
Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.